What's going on, guys? On this episode of the podcast, Chewy and I talk about the roadmap to achieving your goals and also acquiring skill in different areas. So we go a little bit all over the place on this episode, which is normal for us, but hopefully you guys enjoy it.
As always, thanks to our sponsors for helping make this podcast happen. If you guys have not done so already, I encourage you to try out CBD in some form. I encourage you to try it out. My personal favorite, as far as companies that make it, is Charlotte's Web. That's why I was talking about it the other day. I said that, again, they are a sponsor of the podcast or a sponsor of me, but I also chose that. Me and Eugene chose that for the podcast because they make a good product, and it's a product that I feel comfortable sharing with other people. Because again, a lot of you guys that listen to this podcast are my students. And then some of you guys that aren't my students, I sort of consider you in my category, sort of your category, sorry, this is the way you're placed in my brain. You're with my students. And I sort of think of you in that manner. And so I wouldn't want to share stuff that's crap. And so they make a really good product. It's one that's very reputable. They are a company with a lot of integrity. And so again, if you want to check out their products, go to their website at charlottesweb.com, and you can try out whatever you want to, and you can save 20% using the promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off. One of the things, in case you guys are curious, and if you don't know this, I know a lot of people are worried about like getting tested for stuff. That's one of the worries about CBD, because being tested, if you piss, as people say, piss hot, it can be a problem for you. One of their new products is called the Daily Sports Edge, and that is NSF certified sport, which means that if you were in an organization that was tested by USADA would say, here is a supplement that you can take and you will be safe from testing. You won't test positive, which is it's a pretty big deal, because USADA is pretty strenuous. Now, I don't know the testing regulations and things like that you're involved with, but that said, they're pretty strenuous. And so it's a really cool product that they have now, where they've kept a lot of the different sort of compounds that are associated with CBD inside of it. That they haven't been stripped, because a lot of times if it's THC free, they have to strip a lot of the stuff that can be useful to you out of it. They kept all that in there, and they've still removed the THC to the point where you're not going to be essentially testing as if you have THC in your system. So super cool. So check it out, do your research on it to make sure. But I know that that's been a real popular one with a lot of our people that are in like law enforcement, stuff like that, have been trying it out now. So give that a try and check it out. And again, you can use promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 to save 20% off the order on whatever you buy from their website at charlottesweb.com. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll. If you guys have never checked out Matt's website, just get on his website right now. Go do it. I mean, if you're driving, do it now. If you're driving, don't do it, because I don't want you to get into a wreck because you wanted to check out a new gi. But again, assuming that your wife or significant other is not going to kill you if you get another gi or rash guards or some shorts or another jiu-jitsu t-shirt, then check out his website at epicrollbjj.com. Matt is a jiu-jitsu practitioner who's on the mat sweating and busting his butt just like the rest of us. And he makes really cool stuff that's high quality, and it's got great designs. I teamed up with him before to do some special order rash guards, which I will be doing in the near future. So keep your eyes out on that. We'll be doing some shorts and rash guards in the upcoming future. It's the stuff that I wear when I compete. And I'm going to be doing my gym rash guards and shorts with him as well, because I like the stuff that he produces. It feels good. It's good quality. It holds up. And he generally does good designs that, to me, they're like, it's just enough. I don't know how you guys are. I'm funny about this stuff. I don't need like the, for comparison, back in the day, Ed Hardy shirts were super popular and had so much crap all over them. Never liked them. It's too much. I want something very simple. That's just me. I like simplicity, and I like just that, where it just less is more sometimes.
I'm more of an affliction guy myself.
I know you are. That's right. And he had those, I bet you had those jeans with all the.
I did not have the jeans.
Those rhinestone jeans with the crap on them.
Unfortunately, I missed that boat. But I did have I think a Robbie Lawler shirt or something.
Yeah. Well, at least it was related to fighting, and you were a fan. Like you, who did?
Well, yeah, and I did jiu-jitsu, and I was like, and I like the the UFC and stuff. So
of course. But again, if you guys want to check out some of his stuff, he's got a lot of cool stuff on his website. I would check it out at epicrollbjj.com. The promo code is Jiu-Jitsu, and you'll save 15% off the order. Also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, where we have a bunch of exclusive content collected over the years for you to get into. So again, that's patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And last but not least, if you guys want to get our daily or my daily email newsletter that I send out almost daily, you can get it and get some exclusive free jiu-jitsu resources sent to you afterwards by signing up at jujitsu.net/join, JOIN. So guys, with that said, let's get into today's podcast. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things, because like the roadmap of how to do all these things, it's not very complicated. I mean, like, okay, you want to do jiu-jitsu, you have to do jiu-jitsu consistently, preferably, especially if you're young and you can handle it daily or almost daily, give yourself a little bit of rest, strength training, diet, eating good food, all this stuff. It's all there. It's not rocket science, right? You don't have to be a rocket doctor to do it. But, the thing is that you have to do it, and it has to be a long-term consistency. And most people don't have the stomach for that.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of times people think there's some sort of magic there, and there can be some magic. Sometimes like in jiu-jitsu, you have better coaches than others. That's a thing, right? And if you're making products, sometimes product could be better quality than others. But at the end of the day, like, it's going to come to your effort that's going to determine these things.
Yeah, effort. We talked. You said, what did you say about training? You said you made a comment about training. Like, I mean, people train maybe twice a week or twice a day, 6 times a week.
Well, so I was making a comment about, like, I think a lot of people are not honest about how much they actually train.
And what do you mean by that?
I've met people that talked about how much they were training, and they weren't training that much.
So,
like, they were like, "Oh man, I'm trained." And I'm like, "No, you're not. Like, you're not training that much. You're saying that you're training that much because it sounds good." But like, you're not. It's like people that'll say, like, I've heard people talk, "Oh, I do this is my daily ritual," or whatever. And then, like, you find out, like, no, it's not. That's not they don't have a daily ritual.
Mm-hmm.
They just said it because it sounds good. It's like, because people just get on these trends. Like, I'll say because it sounds good.
I think something that you said, about like how much people train. When you said that, like, I was thinking, like, how deliberate are they about their training? Like, now, do you train just randomly, go in and do whatever the hell you want to do? Or do you go in and you have a focused game plan on like what you want to work on? And are you consistent, disciplined enough to not just go in there and roll, which is good. It's got its benefits, but are you like, hey, I'm going to drill this stuff over and over and over until I'm like almost like sick of it.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that it's just kind of like eating the same foods like every single day. You're like, oh God, if I have to have chicken one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. But like, that's the kind of stuff, those consistencies and those, I think, the discipline of training, and also how deliberate are you about your training? How high quality are your reps, right? Are you just like, I'm repping for 30 minutes, but how good are your quality? Are you consistent with your movements? Are you pushing the pace? Are you going, like, are you sloppy with it? That kind of stuff. And I think that plays a role too.
It does. There was a study, and I've talked about this before. There's a book called Peak. It's by a guy named Dr. Anders Ericsson. And he was one of the guys who helped popular or sort of talk about the studies that the quote 10,000 hour rule, which is not entirely accurate, was based on. Right. And so one of the things that he was saying was, okay, like, if you take these people, like in his case, they were doing swimmers. They took these swimmers and, like, they're all training about the same. So what makes this swimmer better than this one? And one of the things that they found, which was interesting, was the way that they performed the repetitions. So when they were in the water, the high level champion swimmers, the best, they were thinking about every movement, every stroke, how their entire body felt the whole time. Whereas the people that were good, but not great, they were just kind of like going through the motions, like, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch. Yeah. Kind of mindless, because it can be, once you get to a certain point, a motor pattern, for instance, a movement pattern can become mindless. You just can do it on autopilot. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get better at it. Another like a lecture series I listened to where this woman was talking about learning. They found that people, even after years of doing a particular pattern, could still improve.
Mhm.
You know, it's like you don't stop getting better at it. It just the gains are much slower, much smaller, but you can still get better at it. And so again, how much thought are you putting into the movements? Like if you watch most people when they drill or when they do techniques, and again, everybody's got their reasons for doing things. If you come into jiu-jitsu and you're like, I just want to be okay, I want to be decent, I want to be mid-level, and I just want to have a good time, there's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of people will come in and they'll just kind of goof off. Like when drilling comes in, you'll hear them talking and chatting a lot, and which is okay. It's not bad. But again, like, don't be upset if you're not getting as good as you'd like, because you're not really giving it your full focus. And that, again, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. You can train jiu-jitsu for different reasons. But if being the best that you can be is what you want to do, then you need to be focused during those periods of drilling and training.
Yeah, and maximizing it, even if I think it's even more important if you're limited on your time that you can be on the mats. You know, obviously depends on the level you want to achieve, but like being very deliberate with your training, being intentional. I would say intentional drilling. Like that shit's exhausting. Like it's mentally and physically exhausting. Not just like, I mean, because when you're focused on exactly your movement patterns, obviously getting like in a flow state is also, I mean, to get to that point is difficult, but like being really intentional, like really thinking about every detail, is like, man, it's like you're doing that over and over, and you're like focusing on this stuff, and that's essentially when you do that, when you increase the speed and increase the variables, that allows for, you know, more stuff's not going to be ideal. That allows you to still be successful because you're so well trained in certain consistent movements. You can still probably adjust on the fly a little more easily. But I think initially you start with that very intentional, perfect environment, and then you start to kind of make it a little more messy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know that like when I was drilling for the 2020 Worlds or 2022 Worlds,
Yeah,
no Nogi Worlds, just recently at the time of recording this, God bless, bro. I mean, like me and Brandon were coming in and doing these hour-long drilling sessions, and we were just, you know, doing repetition after repetition for, you know, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
It was difficult. It was very tiring, very exhausting. I remember after those sessions, I'd be tired like a big chunk of the day. I'd have to like recover because I'm first off, my heart rate's getting up pretty high. And then also on top of that, I mean, I'm so focused mentally. You think about like the tax of even like a competition, you go into a competition and you're so focused on every little thing. And then after it's over, even if the matches weren't that hard, you're wiped out mentally, you're wiped out. And so I even think about some of the work that I do, some of the work where you can think about someone, if you're working at a computer and you have to be very detailed about things, how exhausted you are after it's over, right? It's like, it's not physically draining on you in the sense that you're not working hard, like shoveling or digging a ditch or something, but mentally it's just, your brain is just soaking up energy. And afterwards it's exhausting.
I think podcasting is a perfect example of that. When we were so intentional, like focused on the conversation, especially when someone's like on a screen away from you, like you have to literally, because it's so easy to get kind of sometimes distracted and like your mind to wander. So being so focused on that, like sometimes we'll have these podcasts and we're like, holy hell, man. And we're just like both kind of wiped out and just like, I don't have the creative juices left.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. And that's what makes a good podcast. I think that's, you know, when you ask intentional questions, you build off of what someone's saying, kind of have them explain or elaborate on things. But like, I understand what you mean. And I think it's just the intent behind your training. Eventually, like, you know, once you get better, I'm sure that even though your training or your drilling was super intentional, I mean, you could get away with maybe eventually a little bit, like, I don't know if you're completely mentally focused the entire time, but like, I think sometimes you can get away with a little bit more if you've done enough. But I'm just kind of spitballing and thinking about it. But
yeah, but going back to what we were talking about earlier, sometimes why the podcast does pretty well is because, again, like I'm not asking someone, okay, like how many times a week did you train? And all, because we already know this stuff. It's like talking to someone who bodybuilds. It's like, okay, you ate 6 meals a day. You ate 1 gram of protein per body, whatever. It's like, there's not a secret.
The formula's there.
The formula's there. It's like, you know, it's like someone who, if you want to lose weight, it ain't that hard. I mean, like it's hard. Let me take that back. It can be difficult, but it's not complicated, right? You can complicate it with like weird diets, but I mean, you can, I mean, I was a teenager and figured it out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, stop drinking your calories, no juice, no sodas, drink water. You eat lean meat and proteins, whatever it is you want. If you want to go vegan, eat whatever protein source you want. You cook your food, actually make a real food, and then you don't snack a bunch. You eat just real food, and then I mean, it's like that. You do that, and then go for some regular exercise, and boom, you're going to lose weight. It ain't complicated. It's very simple. Now, doing it can be difficult,
And
because you got to be consistent.
I think having a coach, a mentor, or someone that guides you and that tells you what to do takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And we didn't get to talk to Nick about that. I wanted to kind of ask him like the importance of having a mentor or a coach, and something we didn't really get to ask, but like something you seek out is like mentors, coaches, and people to kind of guide you. I think it takes a lot of the mental energy, and like it takes it onto focusing on what I need to do instead of figuring out all the nuance and all the details. It's like I know exactly, like Eli, for example. I was talking to someone from the gym that's worked with Eli, or your strength coach, or kind of does your diet plan stuff, and he's like, Eli's a genius. He told me to lift more weights and eat less calories, and like it worked. And he's like ripped up,
making a joke.
He's like, he's a genius. And I was like, it's exactly it. But like having someone that, first of all, you can see, look at them. Oh, look what they look like. Number one, you see the potential, and then they're like, tell you what to do. And all you have to do is really follow through.
Yeah.
But that is hard enough as a person. Can you follow through? Can you be deliberate and not fall off the wagon, I guess?
Well, I think having a coach, one of the things about having a coach that's helpful, if you have someone that's like you're checking in regularly, is there's accountability there.
Yeah,
like for instance, with Eli, like when I was cutting weight with him the first time, if there was an urge to cheat on a meal, I would also remember I've got to send this asshole pictures on Friday of my body.
He's gonna know.
He's gonna know. And for me, I don't want to be the person that's like, oh yeah, I'm listening to your advice, and then because he'll know, like say like, did you eat everything on the meal plan? Yeah. How come you gained 5 pounds? I don't know. My thyroid function's low or something. It's because you didn't listen to him. So there's an accountability function there. And also too, there's something that I've noticed from working with different mentors is that some of them give off a certain energy about them. I can't explain it. I don't know, but I've just noticed it. It's like you'll get into a room with someone and they give off an energy, they give off a vibe, and it's like you absorb some of it. It's the weirdest thing I've noticed.
Rub off. It's like their energy rubs off on you.
You're literally in a room with them, and just being in their presence begins to change you in some weird way. Can't explain it. I've just felt it, and it's such a weird phenomenon for me because it's like I've gotten to the point where I can start picking it up. I'm like, oh, I can feel it. And I don't want to be like woo woo about it.
It's not woo woo. It's
because it's like I can see your aura. Like when we were in Sedona, you get it. I can just see your aura. I can see your energy. I can't see it, but I can feel when someone they're in a certain level of control of themselves, and they have a certain possession side of them that then begins to you feel it. And you might even, if you get around one of these people, you might find yourself like all of a sudden being like inspired to do something, or you want to do something. It's like this thing gets into you. And I think a lot of times you see like good leaders have that, you'll see that where they have that thing, or certain people possess that, and you'll be around them, and all of a sudden you're like, you want to do certain things. You're motivated to do things. They rub off on you. They instill that energy in you. It's an interesting thing.
Oh, I think some of that can go being they're authentic and they're genuine. I think they have that authenticity there.
That's possible.
And well, you talked about Sedona, right? You could tell. Like, look, let me read your tarot cards or whatever. You're like, you didn't feel it. I think you can have someone that does make you feel that like they're obviously you have to believe in what they're selling. That's part of it. Like you have to go in and be a willing participant.
Sure.
Right. If you're going to a coach, seeking out a coach, you're seeking something, and you're like, I have a desire to learn this thing or this skill from you. So that's part of it. But you can tell if they're authentic or if they're full of shit. And that can make a huge difference on your buy-in.
Yeah. Well, this is true. And there's also this thing where in the second Dune book, So in Dune, there's Dune and the second Dune book.
I haven't read the second one.
Okay. The second one's a little different. So
that's what I hear, and I'm like,
I mean, it's good. It's not bad. I mean, the first one was better, I think, but the second one was good. But there is a point where I remember, like, I bookmarked this. I was like, oh, that's good. You know, and sometimes you see that in fiction. You get these like little lessons. You're like, oh man, that's really cool. But like, basically, there's a point where they were talking about how during a religious experience, right? It's about the perception of that person onto the thing, not about the thing itself. So what I mean by this is, like, a lot of times, here's an example. People will poo-poo on, I said pee-pee earlier.
You did.
People will poo-poo on religion, right?
Yes.
And I understand why. You know, religion's been used for all kinds of bad stuff. But my question would be to the person that's religious, how's it working for you? Is your life better for it? I know my mother, she said that Jesus, or that God told her to stop drinking. And so she stopped drinking. And she went to the church for support and things like that. It worked great for her, helped her out.
It's community.
Yeah, it's community. She's around people, and they're trying to help her out, and they're trying to be positive. It's very good.
Yeah.
Right. Great stuff. You know, the church that I was a part of, they did a lot of cool projects, you know, for like local people and stuff like that. And it was really cool. And we had a lot of great experiences from it. So it's like, well, that was good. You know, and people would say, like, with like psychics or tarot card readings, I don't buy into it personally. You know, like I think it's just cold reading. But if the person truly believes what they're doing, you know, that's one thing. You know, again, they're not being a complete shyster. But if the person goes into it and they believe it, right? They believe what this person's telling them, and it serves them well, whatever. You know what I mean? Because again, humans, we're just making up stories. You know, and then again, you get into the stories of, for instance, we can say what the story of, like, from my head, what it means to be a man, right? What am I trying to work towards to be a man? What's my idea of what does that mean? Well, you know, here's my idea, whatever. Well, how's it working for me? You know, is it serving me well? You know, and so you can think about these things. We humans, like he talks about in Sapiens, the book, you know, one of the most magical things that humans can do. It's like one of our superpowers. So we can tell stories. Mm-hmm. We can tell imaginary stories that we all agree upon are real. You know, like, your name's Eugene.
That's what they tell me.
The friggin' story. If I plopped you down in the middle of like a different country, no one would know that you were Eugene unless you told them, right? It's like these mouth noises that you identify as. And so it's interesting. So you think about that. So, like, I mean, like, again, all of this stuff, like, how's it working for you? You know, and again, if it's not serving you, there's no reason to hang on to it. It's very simple. And so, you know, and we even talked to Nick on the podcast, and he was talking about how people want to mimic, like, you know, 20-something-year-old competitor training habits. Why? Right? How's it working for you? Are you hurt and beaten down, whatever? Then stop. You know, like, don't do it. You don't need to. Or if you start working and you start climbing that ladder of, like, acquiring stuff. Okay, well, if you got stuff and you're happy, great. But how's it working for you? I know lots of people that acquire stuff and they're not happy. You know, they like they have to change. So it's like, again, it's not working for you. So change.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of, like, the energy we talk about, kind of being around a mentor or some type of leader is the environment too. Like, what's the environment they build? Like, I say this all the time about the gym, driving to the gym. Mm-hmm. You drove in the evening today to get to the podcast studio, and it's kind of like in the after, it's kind of traffic's kind of shitty.
I used to drive. So, like, when I used to, like, live out in the East End, I would drive. It never bothered me that much, because I would drive from the East End out to Louisville.
Yeah.
And it was never as bad as there's just that one section of, like, 65, because it's like 4 lanes goes into one. Right, like, who thought this was a good idea? It's still a pain in the butt once you get off on Dixie.
The point that I'm making is that, like, it's worth it. The environment is what's worth it. Like, the people, the culture, the environment, the energy, right? That's the stuff that makes the gym unique. It's like all this blend of people. We don't have the same type of people there. Like, not so many people are very different, different walks of life, different, you know, you've got, like we always say, police officers and just very different people that maybe don't like police officers outside of the gym, but together, man, like, hey, how'd you do that? Like,
Mhm.
show me this thing. Like, you're gonna tap, I'm gonna let go. You know, I'm gonna respect the rules of the gym. I'm gonna respect kind of the culture of the gym. Like, because if you're a shitty person, you're cancerous in that gym, you're gonna find your way out. And you talked about that. You had a video you talked about, like, I don't know if it was recent. I don't know, I was kind of stumbled upon it. You're like be like mat enforcers,
Oh yeah,
right?
Brandon, he posted it earlier today.
Oh, was that
Today, it was an old video. We
okay?
posted it today.
Okay, so
Yeah.
about mat enforcers, and it was like, you know, like that's good to have people that enforce like
Mhm.
kind of the rules and the environment in the gym, but also it's not always necessary. Like you can just get them, you just basically get them to leave because you sometimes give them the chance. I think before you even get to be a mat enforcer, before
Mhm.
that you have that summoned upon someone, it's like you have to screw up a lot. And
You
there's like a
do.
lot of avenues. Like, hey, let me talk to you first.
It's
Let me,
very rare that we ever like. I mean, at our gym, for instance, when that video gets posted, oh god, everybody gets so upset about it because a
the
lot of
people like
well on social media, you got to understand what social media is. But social media, a lot of times, is basically a place for people to virtue signal. Like they get on and they talk about how great they are, how moral they are, how we don't do that at my place. You know, just it's basically you're signaling about. And again, they've done studies where basically what happens is right. Think about how this works. Think about I'm going to go off in left field a little bit here, but think about, say, like a person doing speeches back in the day where there wasn't social media, right? And you're doing speeches everywhere. You start to figure out and you start to touch on what gets people going, right? So let's say, for instance, Hitler, right? Hitler he did not create anti-Semitism. It was alive and well in Germany when he came about. And so he's doing his speeches and all of a sudden starts to like, oh, you guys are really revved up about this. And then so what happens? So people that want to gain power, gain authority, gain recognition, whatever it might be, what do? They start to double down on that stuff. You see this all the time where you'll see people like, let's say they they post a certain type of video. Oh, that's my video. I'm going to post this type of video. I mean, I've done that with some of my videos. Because people seem to like me talking about stuff. You'll see this in someone's Instagram profile where some guy who's in really good shape or some woman who's in really good shape, they post pictures, nobody gives a damn, and then all of a sudden they'll post a shirtless picture or a very scantily clad picture, and all of a sudden lots of likes. And what happens? Their whole damn feed becomes that. And so, you look at him like, again, we as humans do this. There's this give and take with what we put it out there and we take the feedback. We find what's working and we keep going down that rabbit hole. And so, people like that's why they get on social media and they want to talk about it like that. Like, oh God, this is so bad. I would never do that. I'm morally superior, whatever. And then please like my stuff. But for me, the whole idea about it was, like you said, we rarely do it. And there's a lot of things that have happened before that ever gets to that, like me talking with them directly, right? It's not like I'm just going to sick the hounds on them.
never.
Right. That's not that kind of thing. And I only do the mat enforcer if I want the person to stay. Because if I don't want them to stay, I will just ask them to leave.
Correct.
Right. Because the mat enforcer is not done out of like, I don't like you. The mat enforcer is done as like, I need to check you because I like you. You have potential.
Right.
If I don't like you and it would come from a place of negativity and malice, I would just ask you to leave because I don't want the gym to be a part of that. That's being a bully.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a
something
bully.
in you. I see something that is, I don't want to say good or bad, like, but just
There's
something.
potential.
Yeah, potential.
There's something working. There's something to work with there.
Yeah.
I was a product of a mat bull or being of a mat enforcer because when I came in, I was wild as shit.
Yeah.
And they had to check me a little bit. And again, you could tell me, hey man, chill out. Hey, just be nice. Use your words. But that's going to be the same as you, like when you're a kid. I remember as a kid, I got bullied. I remember there's this kid named Wesley, a little redheaded kid. He looked like one of the kids out of was it Tommy Boy or not Tommy Boy? What was it? The Adam Sandler one? Oh, Doyle Rules.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Billy Madison.
Yeah, Billy Madison. The redheaded kids. He looked like one of those. Had the tail and everything. And he would pick on me. And of course, tell the teacher. What does he say? Be nice. Just be nice, guys. Like, guess how that worked out? It didn't. Right. So what does he do? Picks on me. One day, I punched him and pushed him into a thorn bush. He never picked on me again.
Yeah. And
we were okay. We were cool with each other. I checked him, right? When I was in the beginning, people were telling me, hey, man, chill out a little bit, right? I was a wild white belt. And then eventually, I got checked. Helped me settle down a little bit. So again, sometimes we all understand this on a deep level. There is a difference between being told and there's a difference between experiencing. We can be told about something, experiencing it's different. We can see a picture of something. Seeing the Grand Canyon in person is very different than looking at a picture.
Yep.
Right? Like seeing the Northern Lights is very different than looking at it in a picture. Being told, hey, chill out a little bit, you're being a little wild, reckless, or maybe you're not being too nice to some of the lower belts and you're kind of being a little too rough on them, is different than, hey, I'm going to treat you like you're treating other people, and you'll feel it. So maybe chill out a little bit. Very different, because now you have a feeling to associate it with. You're like, okay, cool. Well, let me be more mindful next time.
You have perspective. I mean, you get that perspective of what it's like to be on the other end. And I think that's sometimes you're right. Like, you don't quite take it in as you hear it, but you don't quite understand it. You see it a lot with kids, right? You see a lot with kids.
Oh yeah,
like, don't touch the stove, Tommy, or don't touch the stove, whatever.
Yeah.
My little nephew. Oh my God, dude, he does this shit all the time, and I see it, and I was like, we were at my sister-in-law's house, and they have like some big mastiffs. They're sweet dogs, but like, if they're sleeping, like, kind of leave them alone. And like, he went in and like messed with the dog, and she like popped up and like growled at him. And so they said, all right. So they got freaked out. They said, don't do it again. Like, he got scared, blah, blah. You know what he does? Like, the next day, looks at us, walks over and like touches the dog and comes back. And the dog didn't react, but we're like, dude, it's like, until your butt gets bit, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. Until you touch the stove and you get burned, you're not going to get it. And sometimes, like you said, you see it in infancy, or like little tiny, little small children, and then you see it in adults too, in a different capacity.
Sure.
But I think, like, sometimes some people get it a lot sooner than others. Some people don't get it, and they have to be told or leave. But yeah, I think that's a really great point you said. Like, that you don't do that. I've only seen it a couple of times.
Like, a great example was with Frank.
Yeah.
I liked Frank.
Yeah.
Still like Frank. So Frank, when he came into the gym, was like, roughing up some of the newer white belts. He was at the top of the heap, was roughing them up, getting them in lots of submissions. And then he would go in the back and talk about it. I talked to him, look, dude, chill. And like some of the other guys, like, look, man, just chill. I don't care. We don't need to talk about submitting people. And then, so I was like, all right, cool. He's like, Rob, go ahead, like, get him in a bunch of submissions. Rob put him in armbar after armbar after armbar after armbar. And he was like, whoa, man, like, did I do something wrong? And he was like, no. He's like, I'm just going to treat you like you're treating them. How's that feel? I can do it too. Again, there's a difference between training versus competition.
Sure.
Maybe sometimes we're competing against each other to get ready, or competing, whatever. That's fine. But training's different. Training doesn't mean we're beating the snot out of each other all the time. It can mean that sometimes, but it doesn't mean that all the time. And especially like if you're up against like the new people, and for me, like, I always think about it like it's like a mother wolf with the cubs. That the mother wolf could just nip those cubs and kill them, but she plays with them, right? It's like, okay, like, let's get them up to speed. We'll get a little bit more rough with them once they can like stand up and they're not so helpless. And so again, we did that with Frank. We kept Frank.
Sure.
Right. And that's the goal with being a mat enforcer. To me, it's not about beating people up, because if I don't like what they're doing, like, I'll just ask you to leave. Like, if you're doing something I don't like, or if you're being a person I don't like, I'll just kick you out of the gym. But I think you got potential. I'm like, I think we can work with this. Let's check you now. So this way we can check the certain behavior that's negative. And then afterwards, like, we can let you go, but it's not like I'm giving a license to say, what I'm going to do? Like, I'm just going to beat the crap out of people because they did something I don't like. Right. I mean, that's not a good, you're being a bully for whatever reason.
Yeah.
This is more of like a very thoughtful, precise, like, we are going to give you an experience to try to let you get a feeling of something that's going on that you're doing, so that hopefully you will change the behavior. And sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I had a friggin' wrestler that was in there years ago, and he would sit there and just hold people in side control. He would pin them and just not move. I was like, bro, you got to try to submit them now. You got to try to open up, and he was just like, but I might lose. So I remember I got him in side control, swept him, got him and I friggin' I put him in the heaviest, smashiest side control pressure I ever put anybody in, and held him for like a full 5 minutes. And I was just like, you're going to feel this, and he tried to get out. He couldn't get out. And then I'm just holding him. I'm not moving. And then at the end, I was like, do you see? Like, that sucks. That's not fun at all. Now I'm expecting him to go, you're right. What is he? He's like, no, man, you did a good job of keeping me pinned. I was like, no. No, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? Like, and so again, it's one of those things, so, or, again, in some cases, like the people have to feel the effects. Like one of the guys at the gym, was having trouble getting rolling partners at a certain point. I was like, well, you're being wild, being reckless. They don't want to get injured, and then as he started to chill out, had to earn the respect of people again. You had to earn their trust because they got to know, oh, like, are you the wild person that popped me in the elbow last time, broke my nose or hurt my rib? Or can you chill? Can you train a little bit more with a little bit more precision and a little bit more thoughtfulness and mindfulness for my health and safety too?
Yeah, sometimes I won't. I'd rather roll with black belt than a white belt.
Of course.
I just don't want to deal with trying to, like, I want to work on technique, and sometimes I just got to, it's not, the skill level is going to be different. And some white belts are great and they're excellent. They're good skill, good athleticism. They're
Sure.
getting there. But sometimes I'm just like, I just don't want to. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to not get punched or hit or slammed or something. And that's fine once in a while, but like sometimes, like, I just don't feel like, I'd rather work technique and have more controlled pace. And even though it's gonna be a tougher round in a lot of different ways, I enjoy that more.
Yeah, well, it's a more technical round, and it's you have less risk of accidental injuries that happen because of a oopsie.
Yeah.
Because you have someone that zigs when they should zag. But and it's different. Like you said, there's some white belts they're perfectly fine and they're very controlled and stuff like that. And again, I think a lot of this goes back to it, where you say the way that the gym culture is, and over time, I feel like one of the things I've noticed with the gym is we have fewer white belts that have that. Because they roll with people and they're immediately realizing that that's not the case, and they have exposure to high level people such early in their games, so early in their games, that they begin to absorb that kind of flow, that energy to them a little bit. Whereas, like, for instance, when I get one of the new white belts that comes in, he's been at the beginners class and he's been rolling with just white belts.
Yeah.
When he comes over and rolls with us, it's like you can tell his anxiety, his body's rigidity begins to lessen, because white belts are a wild roll. They can be, and they're very tense, right? Because their body doesn't really have a whole lot to work with as far as experience and where they're going to go and everything else. And so they can be very, very tense. And so, you start to feel them, like, over the course of time, lose that tenseness when they're rolling.
Well, I think that's all you have is the ability to hold somebody, like, to be rigid. You don't really have technique, so you have the ability to either, like, explode or be rigid or be kind of very tense and strong. Try not to get them to move or try to hold them down, or be very explosive. So you're using, I mean, obviously they're less technical, but that's kind of,
well, think about
that's the nature of the beast.
Think about anxiety, and think about certain negative, like, emotions that happen, right? What happens with your body when those things happen? Tension. It's like, I think it was Alan Watts. He said that, like, basically these feelings that we have, they're basically just muscular tension, right? Like, I remember, like, the funny story. Like, one time it was almost not funny. I was driving home from jiu-jitsu, and I was driving down this road, and this road was real dark, and there was a wreck ahead, which I saw later, but I couldn't really see it. And I just see this, I saw kind of a light. I just thought it was a headlight. And then I realized that it wasn't a headlight. Like, it was a person standing in the road with a flashlight, and I was stopped. I was like, oh shit, like, I'm freaking out. And then, but I, like, I'm sure this person, it ended up being a cop. I think he, like, thought I almost better just run him over. So he comes up to the side, and he's a little frazzled because he saw this car coming at him. He thought he was about to get hit. He's like, let me see your license. And he's like, where are you coming from? I was like, I was going to jiu-jitsu, sir, and I'm coming back home. And he's like, looking at the license. He's like, trying to make my wife a wealthy woman, with because of his insurance plan,
Sure.
And I'm like, no, sir. He goes, and he can kind of tell I'm, like, just super nervous. And he looks at me, he relaxes, and he's like, son, I hope your butt's puckered. He's like, because whatever. And he, like, hands me, and he's nice enough. And I remember I was like, yes, sir. It very much, sir. Like, just whatever. Because I was like, as soon as it happened, all of a sudden my body just sucked in. You know what I mean? And I remember, you can just think about, like, how much tension you get when something bothers you. It's like this tension boils up in you.
Yeah.
So imagine someone that's coming into training and their body's in this situation where it's freaking out. You're just a big ball of muscular tension.
Yeah.
And so again, it takes a while to relax a little bit. So when you become desensitized to it, you're like, oh, this is just normal. All of a sudden you can relax a little bit. And that's one of the things that'll, like, just sort of thinking about it, that'll make your jiu-jitsu much better and allow you to use a lot less strength and a lot less energy, is just sort of tap into, like, how are your muscles always tense? Because they shouldn't be. You'll be tense at certain points when you have to be, but like a lot of times, if you roll with a higher level belt, they're typically very relaxed, and then they're tight when they need to be tight, but then they're loose when they need to be loose. They're efficient. They're using the energy when they need to use it, versus someone that's new, they use it all the time.
Yeah,
because they don't know what's happening.
Well, and that's how that's how some black belts can roll. Like obviously their body's more conditioned to jiu-jitsu, the necessity of jiu-jitsu, what jiu-jitsu requires of you, but like also like because they're not like completely going 100% the entire time. It's like explode and hold and relax and stay calm, and you might be in some intermediate positions where you're kind of chilling, just feeling it out, grip fighting, and you're kind of focusing on kind of what you're going to do and just kind of feeling the flow of and you're not like rigid the whole time. That's like if you're rigid the whole time, you're going to fatigue. It's like you tensing up as hard as you can for 5 minutes or 6 minutes. You can't do that. Nobody can do that. You'll fatigue. So, yeah, kind of like that. Like you said, like this, like the flow, the ebb and the flow, stop and go. You explode, get into side control, hold the side control position, start to relax. When you're squeezing, you are kind of relaxing there a little bit, using your weight, and then you explode again to get in the mount if you need to, or go for the arm bar, or whatever it is. So, I think that takes development, but I think it takes exposure as well. Like you said, like these white belts coming in and getting some exposure to more quality or higher skilled opponents or training partners. And I think that allows them to, first of all, rubs off on you a little bit, and you see how, well, they're really good. They're not just tensing up the entire time. Well, what are they doing? That's kind of how you get exposed to these positions and these higher quality, roles, and then you kind of get better at it yourself too.
Yeah, and I think that too is people, if you're a white belt and you get to roll with higher belts often, you know that they can stop it at any point. And so you being worried about winning is a very futile thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to win if they don't want you to. And so when you can do that, you can move without being afraid, right? Because you're not worried about it. I was listening to an old soldier talk about, like, I think it was on another podcast or social media or something. I heard it somewhere, but he was talking about the fact that when he was a soldier doing his job, he was like, you couldn't be worried about going home. He's like, you had to basically be okay with dying. You had to basically have it in your mind that I'm not going home. Like, I'm probably going to die out here. And he was like, to be okay with that then allowed him to be more effective, because he wasn't hampered or worried, right? He could just go and do his thing.
Be more present.
Right. Well, it'd be more present and be less hamstrung about the worry. It's like competing. If I compete and I'm worried about winning, then I'm not able to pull the trigger, because in every movement that I do then has to be calculated with, what if this doesn't work? Opposed to if I go in there and I'm like, yeah, if I lose, I lose. I don't care. Like, so what? And I go in there with that attitude, then it really allows me to be aggressive, because then it's like, at no point am I worried, because if I lose, I don't care. What I'm more worried about is not being able to do my best and not pulling the trigger. And what I'm more worried about is being afraid of not going for something. And so when you can go into a role in the gym and train with someone, and you can say, you know what, I'm not really worried about winning. I'm just trying to do this thing. It can be a relaxing effect, because then you're not going to win. And you're like, I'm not going to win. I'm up against a black belt, so there's no chance. So I'm going to go after it. I'm going to try to use my techniques, but I'm not worried about winning and losing. I'm worried about just going and just worried about doing the thing. And I think that happens sometimes when you get people that get to roll with higher belts more often. You lose the worry about the outcome of the roll.
Yeah. That's why when I was a white belt, I kind of enjoyed rolling with upper belts, because I was like, oh, I'm not expected to do shit.
Yeah.
I'm not expected to win.
No pressure.
So if I get a technique or almost hit a technique or a sweep or something like that shows I'm making some type of progress. Yeah. The no pressure thing. I think pressure is such an interesting concept. Like, I feel when I compete, I feel so much pressure. I feel so much anxiety and so much, like, I get that adrenaline dump, and
you create it.
Oh, 100%. And it's like something you try to overcome, and like you breathe and you visualize and you do this stuff and you think and you try to kind of get yourself calm and get yourself in the right state of mind. And as soon as you show up there and you feel it, you see everyone rolling and stuff going on, you tense up again. You feel it's almost like in the air, like you smell it, like oh my God, this is so intense.
And I think it is in the air. I think that a friend of mine, and I don't know this to be true, but it wouldn't surprise me. He said that when we are in heightened levels of stress and anxiety, we sweat, like the some of the chemicals that we are using, that our body's secreting, they come out in our sweat, right? Which would make sense, right?
Sure.
It sounds like it would make sense. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it just sounds like on a basic level, it just seems like that would make sense. And he said that, like, if you smell your gi after a really hard rolling session or tournament, he's like, it might smell a little different. He's like, and he goes, that it has to do with like a certain level of chemicals being secreted through your sweat and stuff like that. So, if that is true, then it would make sense that if you've got a room full of people that are on edge, because when you go to a tournament or if you go to a competition or any of this stuff, if you look around, everybody's on pins and needles. They may not look like it, but they're all feeling it. Everyone's feeling it. You'll see people like where they're staring at each other. They're getting ready to compete and they look calm as can be. But inside there's a whole world of things going on, tons of feelings and, doubt and excitement and, striving for victory and, all kinds of stuff, all like this, all mixing together. And so they look like, I remember like years ago, one of the guys that I was fighting, MMA, and we were in this, we were backstage or whatever, getting warmed up, and I'm just sitting there waiting for my turn when it's time to get warmed up. And I was very quiet. I was just in the zone, still just relaxing. And one of the guys was like, he's pacing. He's like, man, I don't know how. I wish I could be calm like you. I wish I wasn't so nervous like you. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm nervous as hell, bro. I'm like, I'm getting ready to fight. And, I was so nervous that like when I didn't know who my opponent was in this fight. And then when I got there, the guy's name was Marcus, whatever his last name was. And when I got there to the fight, I realized it was a guy I trained with a year previously who beat the crap out of me in training. Like when we were standing, like he was, man, like he beat the crap out of me on the feet with his boxing. Now I had trained a lot of boxing since then, but in my head, I'm like, the last time we met each other, this guy, like, he pummeled me. And I didn't know this. I didn't know who I was getting ready for. And so in the backstage, they did our blood pressure and stuff, and they brought us both back, me and him, and they told us that our blood pressure was out of control. They were like, you're like, it's like 180 over 120 or something.
What do they expect though? Like, what the hell do you expect right before
Well, my blood pressure is never that high before fights. Like, I think my blood pressure the last time I fought, it was like 130 over 70. Like, and it was like, and most of the time it's like 120 over 70, but, so like a little, like slightly elevated, but nothing crazy.
Sure.
But, and then it settled down later. Right. But I was so nervous about it. So like, I'm not
sure,
whatever. So, everybody goes through it. So again, to me, like we're probably secreting chemicals and things that that we're not aware of, because I mean, it's even like, you ever been around like a woman when like she like later on you look back at like she was totally into me, and like maybe you guys end up dating or whatever. It's like you just got this feeling,
feel it,
and you don't even know what it is. And I imagine there's some sort of chemical thing where like animals secrete pheromones and stuff like that, and the animals pick up on it. And like obviously we are creatures of nature, so we're not exempt from these things. And so I definitely think you could probably get a scent. Like, oh man, like we're amped up here, because you can walk into a room and there's a smell to it during a competition. And you're like, oh, you just instantly start getting like amped up as soon as you walk in the gymnasium.
Yeah. I wonder what that is. It's possible. It could be that we just can't sense it.
I'll have to do some
maybe
research.
We've evolved enough to where it's not something that registers. Who the hell knows?
We're not that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as evolving goes, I mean, we're still pretty close to like what we've always been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you think about like as far as evolution goes, we're still like super, super close. Like as far as evolutionary terms, we haven't really gotten that far.
Yeah.
From,
and how quickly we've evolved. Like how quick, like with technology and stuff, like how we've evolved. Like,
well, we haven't evolved.
Well, like we have evolved in some capacities. Like I think technology is a evolution, is our evolution.
Maybe
in a lot of ways.
Maybe. So it's like we haven't really evolved as a being. We haven't evolved. What we've done is we've given ourselves this. We've gotten really good tools, because technology is nothing more than tools, right? So it's like we've got all these different tools available to us that have enhanced our abilities. But they've enhanced our abilities in one way and sort of destroyed them in
Sure.
another.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that's not new. Emerson wrote about this in the 1800s, that we don't know how to walk because we ride horse-drawn carriages. We don't have a memory because we have a notebook that we can write things down. Like we can't tell the time of day by the sun because we have a pocket watch, right? And then now it's like we have gone even further into this, where like we have phones that are simply like, we've got the symbiotic relationship with our phones where we can look up anything at a moment's notice, right? And let me look it up real quick, and it's so again, these great tools that we have, but as far as like us on a deep level, I mean, I don't know that we've evolved that much. I mean, certain changes have happened, but as far as like 2000 years ago, like thousands of years ago, basically the same, as far as we know.
Mm.
The DNA structure is really close to the
Yeah.
same thing. It's just there's this compounding effect of like knowledge and information that we've accumulated, and we've gotten better resources, and humans have created more abundance for themselves. You know what I mean? So
You see it in jiu-jitsu, the compounding effect. Like all this information gets out, and then people create more information and more information, and you have access to more. First starts with YouTube, then you start with, like instructionals, and then you have the best people in the world providing instructionals on the best techniques that they've developed and how to implement those techniques. And everybody learns it, and they take it back, and then you build off of that. Just gets crazy.
Well, sure. And you think about what that is. You think about information being so abundantly available, like it's there.
Yeah.
It's all there for you. And so again, then people can take it and they can build off of it. And that's what humans do, right? They take from others and they build off of it and add to it and change it and make it better. And so you have, with jiu-jitsu, the sort of proliferation of the techniques and abilities and everything else has just skyrocketed ever since things like YouTube and streaming video became a thing where you just have instant access to like all this stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, wherever you're consuming the podcast. Thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, guys, if you want to check out any of our sponsors, first sponsor is Charlotte's Web, charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 to save 20% on the order. Again, I encourage you to try out some of their products, see what you think about it. CBD has been a great supplement to add into my routine. I typically take it about 30 minutes before bed, and I feel like it helps. And again, a lot of people get different benefits from it. And so my encouragement for people is to try it out. And again, if you're someone that's been wanting to try CBD out and you have been worried about it because of the THC content, that kind of thing, check out and do your own research, but check out their Daily Sports Edge product. It's NSF certified sport, which means that if you were getting tested by USADA, they would say it's okay to use their product. So that's kind of cool. But again, do your own research on it to see if it's right for you. But check them out at charlottesweb.com. And whatever you buy, use a promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 to get 20% off. Also, thanks to Matt at Epic Roll for being a sponsor of the podcast and helping us bring our pleasant voices to you.
Hello.
You can check him out at epicrollbjj.com is the website. He makes really cool gear, rash guards, shorts, t-shirts, merchandise, whatever you want. Anything jiu-jitsu related, he makes it. It's high quality stuff, cool designs, and I like it enough that I like wearing his stuff, but I also like doing business with him to share, like to do some of my rash guards and stuff like that. And so again, if just keep an eye out for those things as they come up in the future. But until then, you can check out some of his stuff on his website at epicrollbjj.com. And the promo code is Jiu-Jitsu for 15% off. And also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and you'll get access to a ton of exclusive content that is not released anywhere else. 2 pieces of content being a seminar, full recording of a seminar that I did a couple of years ago that has a lot of cool techniques that I use in competitions. And we've got a really cool stretching mobility for jiu-jitsu seminar sort of class that was about 20 minutes long that Eugene did for some people. So again, it's short enough that if you're not really into stretching and stuff like that, which most people I don't think are, it would be really useful to you because it targets specific jiu-jitsu muscles, or muscles that we use a lot in jiu-jitsu to either loosen them up or strengthen them depending on what's going on there, to try to bring a little bit more balance to the body. So you can check that out at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And guys, last but not least, if you want to join my daily email newsletter where you will get a communication from me daily sent to your email inbox, And along with that, get access to 3 free jiu-jitsu resources. Well, they're not free, but I'm going to give them to you free, but 3 free resources. One is on game planning, one is on jiu-jitsu drilling, and the other one is on some at-home study guide stuff. So I wrote it during the Coco times
COVID.
of 2020, when everybody was locked down and people were like, what can I do for my jiu-jitsu when I can't train? And I wrote out some ideas as to what you could do. It's got a lot of good content in it. So if you want to check it out, you can go to my website at jiujitsu.net/join and get access to it. And again, you'll get my daily email afterwards, which you can read and enjoy, or can unsubscribe at any time you want. And guys, I think that's it. So thank you guys so much for being on the podcast with us today and listening. And if you guys have any questions, you can send them to Eugene. To the podcast Instagram. We've got an Instagram for the podcast directly, so you can do that and send them a DM, or we have an email for the podcast, either one of those. And or if you're a Patreon member, you get preferential treatment. So if you send it to him, he'll make sure it gets put onto the podcast. So with that said, guys, we'll talk to you next time.